This meeting is called to order. I am Mayor Beverly H. Burks, and this is Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, 7 p.m. Council meeting for the City of Clarkston. I will proceed with roll call, starting with Vice Mayor Johnson, Councilman Carroll, Councilwoman Bell, Councilwoman Hood, Councilman Perkins, Councilwoman Adi, and our new city manager, Shaquia Miller Thorne. Are there any updates or changes to the agenda? Yes. I would like to add to the agenda discussion, consideration. North, it's been properly moved and second to have a discussion regarding the carpet for 736 North Boulevard. Is there any discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, and that will be added to the end of the agenda with G. We'll move on to presentations and administrative business, starting with the Employee of the Month recognition, and that is for March 2025, Dr. Becker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to present the Employee of the month of March 2025. This employee consistently demonstrates strong initiative and teamwork, particularly during a homicide investigation where they assisted detectives with follow-ups, developed leads, and processed evidence. They led by example with a positive attitude, showing eagerness to learn and share their knowledge with others, which enhances the overall performance of the team. Dedicated to the safety of Clarkston's residents and visitors, this employee relentlessly pursues criminals, aligning their efforts with the city's values and goals. Their proactive approach and commitment to teamwork makes them a valuable asset to the department and the organization. The Employee of the Month for March 2025 is Officer Craig Earl III. The second, I'm sorry. City of Clarkston Police Department.
What are you telling us?
I want to present you with a certificate, and I will get you a $50 gift card tomorrow. The office will fly.
Thank you and congratulations and thanks for all the hard work. We'll move on to E, which is to approve the following meeting minutes, and that is number 1, 225, 2025 City Council work session. Item number 2, 3, 4, 2025 City Council meeting. 3, 325, 2025 City Council work session. I'll entertain a motion at this time. Yes, I move to approve the following meeting minutes, February 25th, 2025 work session, March 1st, 2025 City Council meeting, and March 25th. Is there a second? Okay, so properly moved and second to approve the following meeting minutes. February 25, City Council work session, 3/4/2025 City Council meeting, and 3/25/2025 City Council work session. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. We'll now move on to reports, and we'll have a report. We'll start off with our planning and economic development report from Richard Edwards.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'll give a brief update on the economic development, HPC, and planning and zoning stuff going on within the department. And I'll also turn it over to the chairman of the DDA, Dr. Garcia, to give us the update on the DDA chairman as well. So to start out on the planning and zoning side, the comp plan RFP drafting discussion has started with the procurement and the former city managers. So we're looking forward to wrapping in our new city manager on a discussion with that. We are required to have our comprehensive plan submitted no later than October of 2026, or we will be out of compliance with state law. So we'll be working on that soon. With the previous city manager as well, we have started the discussion and drafting of an annexation study, RFQ. On that one, we are holding to wait on more discussion with the new city manager on that. Last year in the budget, you all did allocate $2,000 in the general fund for that. So we'll be looking forward to moving forward with that soon as well. Our permit tech, Phelan Atheon, has started as well. So we're happy to be fully staffed in the planning, zoning, and economic development department as well. And we also updated the community development reinvestment ordinance that we passed with Councilwoman Y.T. Bell. That is now up on the website with information. And we're looking forward to having a resource on there where citizens submit where they think that properties may be divided, and then to have our code enforcement do the check on that. So we're looking forward to maybe getting some more of our more blighted properties corrected in the near future. Right now, staff is working on about 10 to 12 text amendments to be coming before you all next month. When I was hired at this position, the city manager said my first goal was to go through the zoning code and provide some recommended updates to that. So that is something I've been diligently working on, and we'll hopefully have quite a few for you next month to consider. We're also reviewing the tree ordinance with the city engineer now for potential updates and modification of the tree ordinance. So hopefully we'll have that to you all in the next couple months as well. On the historic preservation side, we're working to get the certified local government certification. And one of the first steps in that is getting a historic resources survey. So we have submitted to the Atlanta Regional Commission for a CDAP grant to do the historic resources survey for us. And we'll find out if we get that grant at the first meeting in May. Currently, staff is also working on some potential historic district design guidelines that will supplement the historic resources survey in efforts to get the certified local government status. So hopefully that'll be paired well. And as soon as we get the historic resources completed, regardless of case, ARC, or in-house, then we can get that put forward. We're currently also working with some GSU students to do a historic apartment project with Ashton Walker. They're going through and doing all of the title searches and all the historic documents at the DeKalb County Courthouse on some of our historic apartment complexes to hopefully get them in line for some historic tax grants and different type of tax subsidiaries there as well. On the economic development side, filming is picking up. As you saw this past week, we had one film right here in downtown, and we're in talks with 2 more being worked on here in Clarkson, so we're excited for that. We're also working to get a software called CoStar, which is something that my predecessor had started. It's a real estate here that shows you, it can tell you within our city limits how many vacant commercial spaces we have, the square footage. Also provides the information on who the leasing manager for the company is. And it also shows us the businesses in our neighboring cities that may have leases coming up. So we can start looking at potentially bringing more business to the city through that software. And currently we are in works with the DDA. This week, we should be submitting to the Georgia Tech Economic Development and Research Center for DDA visioning and strategic plan funding. This is something that they do receive state money for, and we're only required to pay 10% of all of this. So hopefully we can get to work with Georgia Tech on this to supplement some of the work with our DDA. And some overall department things we're working on. We're working to do a full comprehensive review of the website. So one, make sure all of our links are active for planning and development items, to make sure all the contact information is up to date, and hopefully have more information on there to help citizens better guide themselves through the process. And lastly, on my end, we are working with the city clerk's office to get permitting online. So we have gone through one session of reviewing different softwares for that. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have all of our permitting online, so you can submit all of your permits fully online. And with that, I will put over to the DDA director, Dr. Russell.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you very much for having me here today to give you an update on what the DDA is doing. But first, I want to thank you for your support of Envision for the City of Hartford in supporting a DDA. So that's really important that DDA maintain your support. We being here hopefully to show you that our involvement with the city is unwavering. We're all working very hard. And to report to you that the DDA is off to a wonderful start. We are getting organized in what we're doing. We now have official corporation. We're waiting for our designation to nonprofit to come through. We have email address. We have a bank account, and with some funding, we are getting things in motion as well. We are working towards finalizing dedicated attorney for the DDA, which is very important as we're moving forward, and in planning specific projects that we can go ahead and start and take off some of that burden that the city has putting on great events in downtown.
Seconds in. Thank you all for this opportunity. We started off last week Tuesday with the first meeting with all department directors, and this past Monday we had the first meeting with all staff. The purpose of these meetings were to working relationship, one-on-one department meeting at the Durham Restoration today, and we'll be conducting on topics scheduled to start. One high-level concern is the fact that our transportation project is basically for all program and plan is subject to review. We have not received anything from the federal highway administration regarding that effort yet. Ask regarding review of these projects, and we have been made aware that several components of the plan may be installed to be received from the plan. And so what we've been asked to do is to reach out to our legislators and to ask them at one of the bills. And we have completed the federal highway administration fully executed, but of course, again, there are components and so Mayor Birthday has graciously signed letters to our representative, our federal rep, to advocate for that particular project. Regarding electronic payment capabilities, my office is working with the finance office to schedule meetings with RDA, which is our current financial software provider. So that meeting is tentatively going to be held during the week of the 7th. Our product provider, our customer service representative for that software will not be in office. So we have reached out to him to see what the capacity or the capability of the current software is to provide acceptance of electronic payment. Additionally, that can also put the public software package for our other departments. The ultimate goal is to operate within a platform that we can operate or operate within a platform that has the ability of platform. I do intend to have a more detailed report to council at the work session in April, and I'm hoping that we can discuss this item during the really great consideration for year 2025. The city clerk and I had a virtual meeting session with David Butler and other commissioner's office. Of course, we have to consider House Bill 581 requirements. Although the city opted out of House Bill 581, there are still requirements that we have to maintain as far as determining estimated rollback rate ahead of publication started for reserve adoption. And then if the estimated rate is less than what we less than our final adopted rate, we have to provide for what that is for. We do intend to have we are expected to receive the preliminary adoption upcoming events. Of course, we have the institution April 5th, Mayor Potts Town Hall will be April 28th, and Earth Day pre-sapling giveaways April 22nd. I do want to issue a special thank you to all the persons attending the Waterway Cleanup event. That's my first event. It was an honor to engage with the community and I had not been at Friendship Forest before. City Council retreat council is scheduled for Friday, April 25th, 7:30 to 4:30 p.m. We are also looking for some dinner together that we will equity activities, I'm sorry, any equity activities, diversity, inclusion activities, climate change activities, environmental justice activities, gender specific activities, and the primary purpose is recreational trails or shared use paths, electric vehicles, and EV charging, all of those.
I just wanted that for the record. So those of you that have phones and like to make calls, this would also probably be a great feature off the call on these things that move our city forward. Things that we want to be aware of. And so, we are only 7 up here, plus 2 if we want to make it work. So the more voices that can be behind this involved, it's a great project. Pedestrian safety, with access to trails, there are a lot of things involved. All on the time for our expert on. But please, our representative, if this is something you find valuable, make sure to do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you went to federal, so
Yeah,
just so you understand, the Safe Streets for All, we were awarded over $1 million. And that's a joint initiative between the city of Clarkston as well as DeKalb County. It is to make those improvements along the Indian Creek Drive to Montreal. And so that is a very important area when you think about how often we talk about safety. We had a fatality near Indian Creek Elementary School. And so this was to ensure that we had safe conditions, not only for our children, but anyone who wants to utilize it. Our bike path is along that as well. So to Councilman Perkins' point, we have the letters, but making sure that we also engage and, yell next door, tell folks to make sure they send letters out to Ossoff Warnock and Congressman Johnson to make sure that they advocate for us. Because again, it's going to take the community to ensure that we save our community. Okay? Yeah.
I just want to mention to the council, I know I made this, you all aware of this as we were in the recruiting process, but as a member of the Georgia Municipal Association Federal Policy Council, Carson now has a representative for District 4 to advocate for federal policies that impact municipalities. Currently, my appointment is the only appointment from central to south in the district. So Clarkson has a voice on that council, and we make sure to advocate for policies just like this one, right? And just make sure that direct funding comes to the municipalities like this park.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you. Thank you. Do we have our city attorney? Okay, so Mabel.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council.
There you are. There you are. Talk a little louder. Mr. Quinn.
Hello, I hope I'm speaking at the right time. I have a very low audio on coming through of the meeting, but I thought I heard city attorney. I do not have any report this evening, and hopefully we can get the audio going a little better so that I can hear going forward. Or if you have if I'm not responding on Zoom, then feel free to call me on my cell phone and we can discuss that way. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, no report. We'll start with the council remarks, starting with Vice Mayor Johnson. be at the Tahoe Village Shopping Center at 9 a.m. It starts at 10 until we're done. But if you want to volunteer, I'm sure anyone that can no services come by and just get. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Carroll? Okay. Councilwoman Bell? Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Hill? No report. Okay. Councilman Perkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first, I want to wish members of the Hudson Community and Parks Committee related to the product. I also attended the Ramadan reception in the Marina Park product. Several of my colleagues, so thank you to our host. Great, great opportunity to speak with people and to share what is going on in their community. On March 26th, I had the pleasure of joining a number of y'all, a few familiar faces in the audience for the City Ag Plan Committee Conversation at Breakfast Coffee. So thank you again to Google Alliance and Emma and her team just for putting it on. Great ideas now talking about security, spaces in the community to help address that. So really excited to see what comes out of that. Finally, I also attended the Cleveland Public Safety Committee meeting on 26 with Councilwoman Bell. So I think that's that.
All right. Councilwoman Booth? Okay, thank you. I'll do my mayor's report. I also attended our dinner on the 11th at the mosque, and I attended the Refugee Women's Network dinner for Women's History Month. I attended the Clarkston Community Center art project that they had, recognizing behind the local Women's Day, and that was at the community center where they had many women featured artists there. I attended the Change Maker for our youth throughout the district of DeKalb County with the speaker Lorraine Cochran Johnson, our CEO. I also attended the March 20th with the Coffee with the Cop, and it was a great event over at the Clarkston Market. I also attended the iftar dinner for the Warringo Burmese community, where I was the speaker for that. Attended the waterway cleanup. I also was recognized by the NAWOSB, which is a celebration of female mayors throughout the state of Georgia. I attended the first session that we had with Food Well Alliance, and also I participated as the DMA policy chair I met with our president for the DMA with our DeKalb delegation down at the Capitol. I served as the representative for District 5 for the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority, ATL, where we voted in our new representative there. I also held my first DMA policy meeting with the mayors throughout this DeKalb County, and Lorraine Cochran Johnson was our speaker for that conference as well. And so that concludes my report. At this time, any member of the public may address the council during the time allotted for the public comment. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comment at the discretion of the presiding officer. The public comment period will be limited to 4 minutes, and it's not time for dialogue. If your public comment contains a series of questions, God bless you. Please submit those to the city clerk in writing. This will facilitate follow-up by the council or staff. The city council desires to allow an opportunity for public comments. However, the business of the city must proceed in an orderly and timely manner. See if we have anyone signed up. Martha Brown. You gotta speak in the mic. Bring the mic down a little so we can hear it. There you go. You ready?
My name is Martha Brown. I've been in Clarkson for 16 years. I'm an integral part of this community and was an integral part of getting the recognition of Friendship Corps and all that work done. That being said, I just want to say I'm glad to be here. Thank you for everybody's work. And I especially want to do a public thank you, even though I thank people individually, to Mark, to Jamie, to Beverly, to Yolanda. Over the past year, I have reached out to them. We've been working on different things within the community, and I really appreciate your help. I was at the Waterway Cleanup in Friendship Corps. It was really fun. I met a lot of great people, and I really appreciate the work everything is doing in Clarkson. I also want to say there's a lot of great things, a lot of positive things going on in Clarkson. The T-Spots work has been amazing. My neighborhood has benefited from them for that, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to launch in. I brought this up last year, and it is basically we have, and so I'm not here to be a buzz stopper. I'm not here to complain. I'm already involved. I'm already active. I'm already participating. I don't bring anything here that doesn't entail that. So I brought it up last year because talking to Rodney, he let me know that the city no longer was having him when he was in head of public works, handing in the trash and, and litter report to the city and to the city manager. I hope that you rethink that. There is a systemic litter issue in Clarkson. I've spoke about it before. This is not necessarily a negative thing, but this is something that we really need to focus on. It is a health hazard. It is an environmental hazard. It's an economic issue. It's a social issue. It's a psychological issue. It's a community issue, and it tells you what people feel about their community. Okay. The good news is there's a lot of ways to take care of this. There's a lot of ways to approach this. There's a lot of ways to go about this in really positive, systematic ways. But it's not as easy as just, well, let's have a Clarkson cleanup day. It's got to be a deep dive, and it's got to include Public Works, who I'm also here to really thank and commend, because we work synergistically all the time, and we're networking with each other all the time. So something happened last week where we saw someone, the U-Haul place on Sam Street, they literally dumped like 8 rat traps with poison on the side of the road. I immediately picked it up. I happened to have gloves with me. Later on, I did talk to the Public Works guys. They let me know that they were aware of it, and they had cleaned some stuff up as well. So I'm here. I'm looking forward to people reaching out to me. Mark has my number. Jamie has my number. Beverly has my number. I'm looking forward to to hearing from the city manager and the city planner. And I want to also thank Larry because he's one of my go-to people as well. So thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to working with everybody. This is the second time I've reached out. So I expect some action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else signed up?
Debbie Gathman.
I'm a slow walker. So can I start now?
No,
No.
we'll wait for you.
We won't start till you get to the podium.
We'll wait for you.
Actually, I'll get a unicycle.
You run those electric scooters.
Yeah, those electric scooters. If only they were cheaper. I'm Debbie Gathman. I live on Mell Avenue. I have three things. Number one, I was very excited by the Foodwell Alliance meeting. We had a ton of ideas. It was super interesting to listen to everybody's input. I sat next to the lady that used to be in charge with Wade of the community garden that was behind the CCC. It was fascinating to hear that history. I really love that. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. I can't wait. Number one. Number two, I also am happy, very happy that the city manager made announcements of dated events coming up. Because you know, I'm sort of a fanatic about this, and I was extremely happy to hear that, because that way we know what's going to come up. I also like that you've started posting notices on the door, I guess, to the court side, like a quasi bulletin board. You know, I've been pushing for a bulletin board for a long time. I bought one. I would be happy to keep it clean and neat for you guys, because I think people need to know stuff. We discovered at the Foodwell meeting that there are food drop-offs 3 different places in Clarkston that we didn't even know about. None of us knew. And one of them is next to where the new city hall is going to be. So I think that's the kind of stuff we should know and have on a bulletin board somewhere. Last thing. This is something that Mark and I have talked about, but this is kind of a small thing, but I really, really wish that we could get Public Works to do 1 free tree trash pickup. My neighborhood is covered with tree trash because we had a lot of trees down. I had 3. So I got Mondo trash, tree trash. I am willing to put a big giant pile of it by the road, cut it to 4-foot lengths, but I don't want to do it until I know that you guys will do this. But there's tree trash all over the neighborhood. One lady has put out like 25 leaf bags. They've been sitting there for like 3 months. So we gotta either ticket her or take the leaf trash away. I don't know what you guys do with it. I think Rodney last year did that for me and I paid for it. And he brought the chipper and chipped right at that moment. And then 2 of the neighbors rushed over with branches. He said, well, I'm only doing this for Debbie. And they were all like, let's just put this in. Let's just put this in. We need just one free tree trash pickup. I can't tell you how much tree trash I have. My whole family came over with chainsaws last week. Here's the last thing. Today, I got certified as a city urban forest property. It was very hard. It's taken me 6 months to get it. I had a guy come and inspect my yard. He inspected the drainage ditch. He inspected the whole schmear and gave me a sign to put in front of my house so I can never be ticketed again for the grass not being cut, because I am now a certified forest, not
Okay.
a grass growing individual.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Okay.
Yes, it was very hard to do. I had to take
Okay.
300 hours. Oh, Trees Atlanta. It's their project with PCAB to certify. I'm the first one in Clarksville, but there should be more.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I will meet with anybody to help you get that. It's kind of nice. You also get free trees out there.
Okay. Grow, don't mow. Who else signed up? All right. No one else? No one else? All right. We'll end public comments. So no old business, and now we'll move to the consent agenda where we discuss these items at the work session and there's no further deliberation. And I will entertain a motion from the council to read off or go through A through H for our consent agenda items.
Have a motion, Madam
Yes.
Chair. I move that we approve A, to approve a proclamation designating April as African American Women's History Month. B, to approve a proclamation designating April as National Arab American Heritage Month. C, to approve a proclamation date the May 11th and 17th Economic Development Week. D, to approve a proclamation note the April 21st, 26th Georgia Cities Week. E, to approve a request to purchase two new Ford 2023 interceptors in Elm Village Ford Lincoln Moore Creek, State Contract 9999901, SPD 000-183-0005 for the police department, about $104,544 to be that is clause 2. F, to approve the request to purchase necessary equipment for two new 2023 Ford Interceptors and Standard Safety Supply State Contract number GS07F0512 and G in the amount of $36,674.08 to be funded out of clause 2. G, to approve a resolution authorizing the change order of the Magnum Paving Resurfacing Contract for additional service in 3 roads approved by the Georgia Department of Transportation Local Maintenance Improvement Grant to 2025 project amount of $187,071.08 to be funded out of clause 2. And H, to approve a resolution authorizing intergovernmental agreement between CAB County Housing Authority and the City of Clarkston for the joint provision of affordable housing services in the City of Clarkston.
Second. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Second. And I'm just gonna say A through H, because he covered everything. All right. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. And as you see, it's consent, so everybody had to say yes, otherwise. So we'll move on to our new business, which is to consider item A for approval, a resolution awarding a service agreement to the most responsive and responsible bidder, Perez Planning and Design LLC, for the Park and Recreation Master Plan Services in the amount of $141,400 to be funded out of SPLOST 2. And then we have Mr. Duncan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, City Manager Miller Thornton. Today, I'm here to present to you our 2025 Parks Master Plan. We did a RFP procurement procedure out and asked those who were interested to bid on this project. We received about 5 bids. We took the top 3 bidders and they presented to us. They did 15-minute presentations and a 15-minute question and answering. And then we selected after doing our evaluation, Perez Planning and Designing Group. Perez will work with the city of Clarkston to help the Parks and Recreation create a plan, a master plan for the next 10 years. And they will help us with our visions, our goals, our missions, our objectives, guiding principles, program recommendations, staffing, services and operations, park maintenance. And then it will cover the following parks: Milam Park, Friendship Forest, 40 Oaks, all of our pocket parks, including Triangle Park. I had it as Brockett Park, but I didn't realize it was Triangle Park as well. Women's Club, the Sutton Home, the house, we also have that included. And since our meeting last week, we included Montreal Creek Court. And then we also will do inventory to see if any other properties we need to add under this plan. The Perez Group will help us with development of recreation facilities, if there's possibility to be able to build one in the city of Clarkston, developing walking and biking trails and connecting our park trails, acquiring parkland possibly for our splash pad. So we're still working with that. And then they will engage community and staff. They will work one-on-one with the city council members and the city manager. And then they will conduct surveys to get feedback from the community. So we're excited about hopefully starting this master plan. If it's approved, we will start April 7th and it will run for 8 months until December 31st. And if anything is added to the plan or it goes over the plan, the price of the $141,400 will stay the same. So whether we add anything or not, or we go over December 31st, the price won't change. So, answer any questions that you might have.
I think the only question that I had was regarding the allocation. How much is in that particular allocation for that? 200,000.
Yeah, 200, we budgeted 200,000 for it.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So I'll entertain a motion. Oh. Councilwoman Bill.
So the only question I have is around the, what you mentioned around the term. I know that it's from what, April to December, the term of the contract. You also mentioned that nothing will change as far as the price point despite them going over. And that's in the contract.
Yeah, that's in the contract.
There will be no change orders, right? No.
No change. Because they recommended, we asked for a 6-month plan for them to do it for us. They recommended 8 to 10, but they said that they can possibly get it done in 8 months, which would take us right to December 31st. But they also indicated that if it went over, that there would be no change in price.
And last question, and did they fix the question we had last meeting in regards to the interviews to make that work? I know at one point they added us back in, but then there was still like 16, I think, was the total number that they were conducting. Is that even more now?
No, from the conversation we have and what's in the contract, they will do 3 meetings with the council, 3 separate meetings, one-on-one with each council member.
Okay.
So that's still the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Entertain a Oh, you have a question?
So I just have one more clarification question to that point. It sounded like in our discussion in our work session that those 16 meetings were separate from one-on-one meetings with each council member. Because I think they had three meetings over the course of the project, one-on-one with each additional council member, which very quickly gets to be more than 16. That was my understanding of our conversation. Is that?
Yeah, the way he explained it to me, it was three different sessions with one-on-one with each council member. So I don't know if that added up to the 16, but that was the impression that I got from his conversation. So, and I know there was something with 16, but the way he explained it to me afterwards was just 3 meetings with the council, one-on-one with each council member and city manager.
Okay. Yeah, I think there might be some confusion due to the language in the contract it sort of spelled out those meetings, which were I think like 21, include the mayor in it, for each of those 3 at different check-in points during the phases. And then there's a section that listed 16 meetings with government officials, and then it listed members of the public and other stakeholders.
Well, I know the meetings with the council members was the one-on-ones, but then he also said that there's times when they come back to give you an update as a whole of where they are in the plan. So that way at the end of the plan and coming back in December, you're not getting everything at one time. So I'm not sure if that's included in the 16, but there are times when they will come back to council throughout the 8 months and present where we are in the plan. So,
okay. Gotcha.
But I can get that clarified.
They're both in the contract, so I'm comfortable moving forward.
Yeah. But it doesn't change the cost either way. So
Okay.
Yes. Do you feel comfortable that they will be able to engage our community in different languages as they're getting input and survey information from citizens?
So I had a conversation with him about that with the diversity, and he said that in the past, when they worked with the Greenway, they were able to engage the community. So they're going to use the same method that they did with the Greenway project.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the motion?
I have a motion.
Yes.
I move that we approve the resolution awarding the services agreement with the most responsive and responsible bidder, Perez Planning and Design LLC, for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Services in the amount of $141,400 to be funded out of SPLOST 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded to approve a resolution awarding a service agreement to the most responsive and responsible bidder, Perez Planning Design LLC, for the Park and Recreation Master Plan Services in the amount of $141,400 to be funded out of SPLOST 2. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to our public hearing, which is to receive comments from the public regarding a proposed variance request from section 540A of the zoning ordinance to not require a 5-foot sidewalk along a local street at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia, and that is parcel 18119050017. And I'm going to ask Mr. Edwards to come up first to kind of make sure people understand what we're talking about.
Right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is a variance request to not include a 5-foot sidewalk for a residential lot along West Smith Street. The current homeowner is looking to demo the existing home and build a new single-family home. And with that, they exceeded the 50% assessed value, so they are required to bring the entire lot up to code, which required adding sidewalks and a landscape strip adjacent to the road. And on this one, the applicant's requesting not to install it, stating that it's an unnecessary hardship because there are not sidewalks anywhere along West Smith Street. On that, and staff is recommending denial of the proposed variance because it does not meet any of the criteria for a variance. And the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request at the Planning and Zoning meeting earlier this month. And I'll turn it over for any questions from the Mayor and Council.
Okay. Do you have the sheet with the hardship? I just want to make sure so that from a public perspective, they understand what we define as what a hardship is versus. If you don't, let's just.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay.
Would you like me to read
Yeah,
those?
just so everyone understands.
All right, yeah, so in their zoning code, there are 6 criteria for a variance. Criteria number 1 being there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular property in question because of its size, shape, or topography. Condition 2, such conditions are peculiar to this particular piece of property. Condition 3, such conditions are not the result of the actions of the owner. 4, a literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship. 5, relief, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the public good nor impair the purpose or intent of the zoning ordinance. And 6, the variance is not a request to permit a structure or use of land not authorized in the applicable district.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then this time I'll open it up for the public hearing. Did we have anyone signed up for this particular item?
No.
No. Okay. We didn't have anyone. Okay. So we wanted to make sure we had to sign it. Okay. All right. You want me to speak? Okay. We'll speak. Go ahead. You know what? Go ahead. Anybody wants to speak?
That didn't sign up.
So
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
you have to come up. So it's
There are people on Zoom that can't hear you. That's
right. So we want everyone to hear you.
It's often Ponce, right?
That's Warren's old property.
Okay. So that street, so it's all,
So-
okay, it's all about asking to not have to put in the sidewalk, right? Well, that street is an actual dead end. So, you know, the amount of public use walking back and forth is not. And so I would be supportive as a resident to say the sidewalk is probably not necessary. And it's kind of like a tucked in little nook of a neighborhood. And it's almost, it might even be almost invasive for a sidewalk to be going down there. So that's my feedback on that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else for public hearing? Anyone else for the public hearing? Anyone else for the public hearing? With saying it 3 times, the public hearing is now closed, and we will move to item C, which is to consider for approval a variance request from section 540A of the zoning ordinance to not require a 5-foot sidewalk along a local street at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia, parcel 18119050017. So at this time, I will take a motion. Yes, Councilman Carroll.
I move that we approve the variance request to not require a 5-foot sidewalk along the local street at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve a variance request from section 540A of the zoning ordinance to not require a 5-foot sidewalk along a local street at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia, parcel 18119050017. And I'll start with Councilman Carroll.
So as I think Martha said, the city is never going to put a sidewalk down the street. It's a dead end street of single family homes. So realistically, the city's never going to pay to put a sidewalk down. It doesn't really make sense because it's not going to be a public thoroughfare. It's just a dead end. You know, people are going to be walking down the dead end and walking back to the sidewalk. So given that, I don't think it makes sense to make this builder pay for a stretch of sidewalk that's never going to be connected, that we wouldn't even want to connect to the rest of the sidewalk. So in the future, I think we're going to pass the planning and zoning's recommendation of just having a sidewalk fee that they pay into in lieu of building a sidewalk in areas like this when it doesn't make sense to put a sidewalk at all. So I don't really see the sense of punishing this developer and putting in a senseless piece of concrete that's going to cause more water runoff and will never be connected to the rest of the sidewalk network. Instead, I would, think about just approving the variance and then in the future requiring paying into the sidewalk. But I don't really see the point of making them build a stretch of sidewalk there. And maybe someone can explain to me why they should have to build a stretch of sidewalk there, but I don't really see a reason for it.
Okay, Councilwoman Bell.
Thank you. So we had this discussion, an extensive discussion in the work session in regards to this. And so and City Attorney Quinn, please chime in. But we talked about this program in lieu of that is not set up. So there is no way to mandate that they pay into something that doesn't exist or retroactively pay into it. And so I also talked to Richard in regards to this. This program that we're referring to doesn't exist yet. And this is a part of the criteria that we set as it relates to variances. We open up the doors for this developer, which I am sorry that the property is in a dead end. Y'all know there's going to be a consistent phase and consistent request. And so we all agree here that we would not open the door for some of these things after they have come to us in this manner. So I would have to move forward with the recommendation of the department.
Okay. All right. And I don't know, I think you covered it. I don't think Steve needs to chime in unless he wants to.
Did I miss something?
Mr. Quinn, did we cover everything in terms of that?
I think that the discussion has been on point so far. When I look at those criteria, I don't see how this one fits either of the first two. I understand the point that Councilmember Carroll made about the sort of lack of utility for the sidewalk. But from a city attorney perspective, I'm looking at the ordinance y'all passed, which is the zoning ordinance that requires the sidewalk, and the ordinance you passed that's the variance ordinance that sets those criteria. So when I look at those, I recommend denying the variance. And then the last thing I would add is that if the council approves an ordinance that is some form of an alternative to installing sidewalks under prescribed conditions that include this property, and that is done before this project asks for a certificate of occupancy, and the ordinance is done in such a way to capture projects that are underway but not complete, then that would be an opportunity to give relief to the developer, an alternative mechanism to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Any
Welcome.
other questions?
So,
Did you have a question?
yes, I just want to see if I've understood the city attorney properly. So the answer may be to defer this until we develop the program of in lieu fees. And that as long as this happened before the certificate of occupancy was issued, we would be able to enact this new regulation or this new program on this subject property. Is that correct?
Well, no, and the part about the deferral is not something that I recommend, because this is an application for a variance under those criteria that Mr. Edwards read. And this property, because it's not unique in a way that's been pointed out, and it's not differently situated from everyone else on the same street, is never going to meet those criteria. So I'm not suggesting to come back later and grant a variance. I was suggesting that if the council passes an ordinance that provides an alternative to installing sidewalks at locations where they're not desirable, that ordinance could apply to this property. And so they could, for example, go about doing their project, save the sidewalk work for last, and if the council approves a sidewalk alternative before they need to ask for their CO, then the developer could rely on that new ordinance by the council. No other applications would need to come to you, and the staff would be able to grant the CO without a variance.
Okay, did that address it for you?
So what would be the appropriate action by council in order to make that happen?
So right now, we have a motion to approve it. So then if the pleasure of the council is to approve it, then everybody's agree. If not, strike it down and then do another one to say that you want to deny it, and then go from there.
Exactly, but how do we get to the point where we are able to have this program applied to this? Would the process be to not approve it because at some point it would not be relevant?
Well, it seems
Well,
like we
right
could do
now
it under
it's-
either scenario. Either if we approve this variance, we could still pass the program later and apply to it, or if we don't approve the variance, we could still pass the program and apply to it. But in either case, we'd have to move pretty quickly because obviously they want to start construction and they have to have plans to include a sidewalk if we don't approve the variance. They've already started. Right, so there's really not that much time. So that's why I kind of think we should do the variance. We can always apply, to require them to pay in later. But, if the council wants to do the other way and deny the variance, we pretty much have to pass it next month.
Yeah. Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I sort of feel like there's three different components to this. One is big picture, where are we headed as a city, in particular neighborhoods? And are we sort of caught in a situation where maybe we didn't set this ordinance up in a way to take into account areas where sidewalks wouldn't make sense? But, there's always hindsight's 20/20, with anything. So it's not a criticism of anybody in particular. So we sort of have the, long-term vision component. We have the precedent side of it, which is we have a variance request in front of us that isn't specifically crafted around that long-term vision. I think that would be a different conversation. And so do we want to, approve this variance request, even though that's not the real reason we're approving it? Are there any legal implications for that? We could have a discussion around that. And then the third piece that I feel like is kind of getting mixed in with those two is the idea of the sidewalk bank, which I sort of see as maybe even being a separate, connected but separate conversation. And so personally, I like the idea. I think the most consistent way of doing it, if we think that we can get the work in to set up it, even if it's an initial text amendment to, maybe it's identifying a sidewalk map, or we're looking at areas in the city where we say, hey, we want to really promote pedestrian connectivity in these areas. There is space for the sidewalks. maybe some dead end streets aren't super high on that priority list immediately. I think that might be the easiest route to take if we think we can get that done in 4 months. And so kind of throwing out a bunch of different components there. Richard, can I steal you for a second? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would it take if we were to, sort of do maybe the, sort of the next baby step towards this and just identify areas within the city where we would at least want to reinforce the sidewalk ordinance? How much work would that entail? Just thinking through like mapping it out in GIS, putting together a map.
I don't think that effort would take very long. Just examining where all the sidewalks are and giving that information to you and let you give us a priority. I could even work with our city engineer, Larry Kaiser, to help determine a priority of where sidewalks should be based on pedestrian traffic.
How long do you think, couple months? Well, I guess it's sort of a question for both of y'all. Would we be able to get that done in time so we could provide reasonable relief?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. So my recommendation then, because we do have, this isn't the only path we have, would be that we go ahead and deny this just on principle because of the language in the variance request, and then move forward with a solution, ideally one where they don't have to come back to us necessarily. I don't know, Mr. Quinn, would we need to set it up where they would have to come and reapply for a variance request if we were to make changes to that? Or is there a way legally where we can?
My recommendation on that is that it's just not a good subject matter for variance, and that I recommend, holding firm to those criteria for variance. So what I would recommend on the sidewalk thing is that the council set a policy that gives the city manager or the planning director the authority to grant what's sometimes referred to as an administrative variance from the sidewalk requirement specifically. And so I'm just, throwing out potentials to give you an idea of what I'm thinking would be like, for example, on a street where no sidewalk segments exist, on dead end streets, or you could be way more specific and say on these streets, it's just never required. But I don't think this is the kind of thing that is well suited to a variance procedure that comes to the council, which, keep in mind, is a decent amount of work for the staff and the planning department, and we publish notices and all that. I wouldn't recommend handling it that way.
Okay. You had a question? Okay. Yes.
I just want to make sure that what we're talking about is germane to the item on the agenda for the purposes of the conversation. But I don't think that even the solution that Attorney Quinn just proposed would change potentially outcome of the decision of the department. Because even if we get them the right to do an administrative variance, it doesn't remove the criteria that we set. And that's what they're governing up under, y'all. The ordinance that we all approve. So I get all of my council colleagues' perspective on this, but if we're gonna go through the ordinance that we created and the program that doesn't exist, I think we move forward with this, and then they come back at a later time if that is the option for them, figure out how we can help them support them. But at this point, as Mr. Kaiser said, they've already started 4 months in. A lot of these plans and a lot of these certifications are already been approved. I'm sure they have.
Yeah, and just to follow up on what I heard from Attorney Quinn, was that if we write this tree bank ordinance to state potentially any building permits that has been submitted at the time of this ordinance but has not received final certificate of occupancy, there is a chance that they could get into that tree bank system as well under those criteria. Please correct me. Yeah, sidewalk, I'm sorry.
Proposed sidewalk.
Proposed sidewalk. Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Quinn.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The only thing I would add is that, it's, if I understood correctly, the quote unquote hardship, which I'm putting in quotes because it's not the same as what's in our variance criteria, but the hardship that the developer is complaining about is the expense of the sidewalk. So if we make them pay anyway, then that might be a better thing for the city because we'd have money for a sidewalk somewhere else. But I don't see that as what the developer wants, not that that should be controlling to us. I just wanted to throw that out.
I mean, it just depends the price, right, that you make them pay. Because it could be more efficient for the city to do a whole strip of sidewalk than it is for a developer to do a 5-foot sidewalk and stop.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same cost to, bring somebody out there. So the city could probably do a longer stretch more efficiently for this plan.
Mhm.
They don't alleviate the hardship from the developer.
Right, so it
That was
doesn't
the
change.
non-hardship.
So we're gonna have one more question and then I think we'll be ready for the question.
I just wanted to note that this area is zoned NR3. And so even though this is a single-family house with an accessory dwelling unit, that doesn't mean that the other properties on that street will continue to be developed as single family. There could be something much denser there. And so I think we need to keep that in mind when we're making decisions about whether sidewalks are required or not, because right now maybe that's a question, but in the future, things could change. And also, Mr. Quinn, as part of all of this, would it be appropriate to, as part of the sidewalk bank, that we ask people to donate the right-of-way in any situation where there might be the need for a sidewalk in the future?
I think that's a complicated question that I would prefer to take up outside of this because
Yeah, Mr. Quinn, thank you for that. But I think for what we have in front of us, let's deal with the actual motion that we have. And then that's something in terms of internal and follow-up, we can have those additional conversations. So are you ready for the question? Okay, all in favor to approve a variance request, just so for technicality's sake, if you want to approve it, you can move forward. If you don't want to approve it, you can vote nay, however you want to do it. To approve a variance request from section 540A of the zoning ordinance to not require a 5-foot sidewalk along a local street at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia, 18119-05017. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
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 Okay, motion did not pass. Now at this time, I'll entertain another motion.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I move to deny the request for a variance at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia. Lot number 18119-05017.
Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded to deny request or variance request for the property at 3679 West Smith Street, Clarkston, Georgia, parcel 18119-05017. Is there any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor of the denial, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passed. Okay. We'll move on to the next one, which is item D, which is a public hearing
Madam
to
Mayor,
receive.
I'm sorry. We are not recording the votes. We did not record a vote for Councilmember Adid or Councilmember Hood for item A, and we need to record the vote for item C.
Okay, so all those, which one for the first approval or?
For A and C. A and C.
Okay, so A was unanimous.
Right.
For A,
Yes.
A was unanimous in terms of the vote. And now for C, the first time, Councilman Carroll was the only one, okay? And then for the second one, the denial, there was both agreed. Councilwoman Adid, did you approve the denial? For the 3679, did you approve? Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll make sure, so for clarification that you have.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm.
We'll move on to D, which is a public hearing to receive comments from the public regarding a proposed resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow a driveway facility at 4540 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, parcel ID 18142010089. And I'll have Mr. Edwards to just give a synopsis about this one.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. All right, this is a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through facility at what used to be the KFC Taco Bell. That use and business did close in 2020. And then DBA Tacos, the current operator at this location, opened in 2024. And during that time, we did pass a new zoning ordinance that no longer allowed drive-throughs in this zoning district. And the use also fell within the continuous 6 months of not being used. So it fell under a non-conforming use, so the staff could not administratively approve this. And then at last month's meeting on March 4th, the city council did approve a text amendment that would allow for conditional use permit submittals for drive-throughs in the NC2 zoning district. And with that approval, this applicant has submitted for said drive-through facility. It is existing on the site, so we don't, there will be no site improvements on this whatsoever. And at this time, staff has recommended approval of this conditional use permit, and Planning Commission also recommended approval of this conditional use permit.
Okay. Did we have anyone signed up for this particular item? Did we have?
No.
Okay. Did we have anyone signed up for this particular item? Do we have anyone signed up for this particular item? Do we have anyone signed up for this particular item? With that, 3 times, the public hearing is now closed, and we will now move into E, which is to consider for approval a resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through facility at 4540 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, parcel ID 18142010089. I'll entertain a motion.
Have a motion.
Bell, Councilwoman Bell?
You get the next one. You got the
All
next
right.
one.
You,
Okay. I have a
not all at
motion.
one time, please.
I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through facility at 4540 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, parcel ID 18142010089.
You want to second it? Okay, there you go. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through facility at 4540 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, parcel ID 18142010089. Is there any discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor to approve a resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through facility at 4540 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, parcel ID 18142010089, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So motion passed. Okay, all right. All right, all right. Go forth and make barbecue. All right. There we go. And so we'll move forward to item F, which is to consider for approval established an ordinance establishing a truck route in the city of Clarkston, and Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since I'll be really brief with this since we discussed it at the work session, but due to the impact on public safety and just city infrastructure, we've had several large semi-trucks try to cut through residential neighborhoods to presumably avoid lights. I don't know what they're thinking. And on multiple occasions, they've taken out power and telecommunications and a lot of other stuff, as well as leaving parts of their vehicles in our power lines. Some might find that is an amenity, I don't know, like reflective decoration. I think for most, they would find it as a safety hazard. And the inconvenience of not having power is also pretty serious. So the ordinance that you have in front of you is one we sent out earlier. I wanted to make sure you also had a paper copy. As I mentioned at the work session, we wanted to just dial in a few of the definitions to make sure that we didn't, accidentally prohibit ice cream trucks or other vehicles that wouldn't be a problem for the neighborhood. And so you'll see just some updated definitions in this. We also adapted the hours for delivery as well. So deliveries can happen between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Just to make sure that, there aren't any issues with, drivers, not knowing the hours, where they can actually make deliveries. There were some concerns that were raised in the meeting as well that I want to just make sure we're clear on. So the restricted, so what we're doing is we're establishing truck routes throughout the city, which for the most part is going to be when someone is transversing through the city on their way to somewhere else. It establishes where they can take their semi truck. Hopefully, we've covered all the streets, so we won't have any unintended consequences of somebody taking something out. But knock on wood, we'll see. It does not prohibit, say if you are a semi truck driver, you're dropping off, or you're any of the, driving any of the other, restricted vehicles. Say you need to deliver landscaping equipment somewhere, or you have a direct delivery of a washing machine or something like that. Those things are still permissible. So if you just can't cut through somewhere on your way to somewhere else. So you can't cut through a restricted area if you're delivering to a non-restricted area. So just want to make that clear. I think there's some concerns raised about that. I think they were very legitimate. We also clarified and just updated the list of streets that are allowed. Most of these are main corridors. We've added a few just because we have some grocery stores kind of downtown, just to make sure nobody got cut out of that, as well as some avenues that cut down the Parkmouth Boulevard industrial area as well. So I'll entertain any questions you have. Please feel free to ask them. That's all I've got.
All right, I'll take a motion on this one. How about that? And then we can.
Good number 2.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes, I got you.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a motion. The motion is for the approval on an ordinance establishing a truck route in the city of Clarkston.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve an ordinance establishing a truck route in the city of Clarkston. Is there any further discussion on this particular item? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All in favor to approve an ordinance establishing a truck route in the city of Clarkston, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Got it? Okay. All right. So we'll move back to item G, which is to discuss the carpet for the property at 736 North Park Boulevard. And I'll let our city manager to start the discussion, Mrs. Miller Thornton.
Yes, ma'am. We have received quote from Pariani regarding the installation of new carpet and tile and baseboard throughout the facility at 736 Park North Boulevard. Quote has come in at $75,472 with an additional 5% construction management cost. Total cost $79,245.60. We have eliminated the cost for demolition of the carpet. Public Works and the executive assistant project manager did go over today to make sure that Public Works can perform the demolition services, and that was confirmed. Additionally, Finance and Human Resources were able to confirm the salary savings for the positions for the 2025 budget year that have not been filled as of the first quarter. That cost came in at $85,244 for the assistant city manager position, the accountant position, and the parks maintenance worker position. I did reach out to Public Works Director Duncan to make sure that he was okay with us pulling that portion of funding from his budget, and he did confirm he did confirm that he was okay with that. So with these salary savings, we are able to pay for the cost of the carpet and tile.
All right. Any further? Yes.
Thank you. My question is for the city manager.
Mhm.
You said that the $10,715 is not coming off of the 79. It would have been added to it, making it.
Yes, ma'am. It would have been added in.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. It is taken off of the quote. If you see, you mean for the demo of the carpet?
What are you looking at?
Yes, ma'am. On the initial quote, there was $10,715 for demolition. On the updated quote, that amount is zero.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And does this cover the entire building?
Yes, ma'am. All except for some areas in PD that, that no replacement is required, and some areas in, restrooms that no replacement is required.
All right. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
You have a question?
No, I got a motion.
Okay,
Okay,
I have a
thank you.
motion.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I move to approve $79,245.60 for the flooring at 736 Park North Boulevard, the new city hall.
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and second to approve the flooring at the cost of $79,245.60 at the new building at 736 Park North Boulevard. Is there any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed. All right, and we're gonna adjourn.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.